Alrighty, let's get this started. So, hello everyone. My name is Danielle Gata. I'm the Acting Director of Education, Public Programs, and Visitor Services at the Morris Jumel Mansion. And welcome to our very last session of our Connect260 series, celebrating our 260th anniversary at the Morris Jumel Mansion. This session is in chronological order with the exhibition, and it is entitled Who We Are Now and Where We Are Going Next. So we're very excited to have you all here today to wrap up this series. But if this is your first time hearing about the Morris Jumel Mansion, here is a quick little sheet of fun facts for you that I'll take you through really quickly. Like I mentioned, the Morris Jumel Mansion is 260 years old. It was built in 1765, and it's the oldest remaining house in Manhattan. It was listed in the National Register of Historic Places in 1966 and designated an individual landmark in 1967 and an interior landmark in 1975 by the New York City Landmarks Preservation Commission. It was built on the ancestral land of the Lenape people, and was likely built and funded using enslaved labor. It also served as Washington's headquarters in the fall of 1776 and housed Eliza Jumel, who was our longest resident, former Vice President Aaron Burr, Eliza's second husband, and Northup, the wife of Solomon Northup, who penned the autobiography 12 Years a Slave, and so many more throughout the years. But we also became a museum in 1904, and that brings us to the present day. So a few updates, just some housekeeping for our sort of MJM side of things before I turn it over. The mansion has begun its temporary closure period for a portion of our long-awaited restoration and accessibility project, which you'll be hearing about today. So we're already rolling into that time period. But while this is happening, we're going to continue to offer our virtual programming. So next month, we'll be having another virtual parlor chat, which won't be Connect260 anymore. We'll be going back to our regular series of virtual parlor chats. But that will be on January 21st in 2026, which doesn't actually feel real to say that. And it'll be same time, same channel. So make sure you tune in at 7 p.m. Get your links on Eventbrite. We also have begun our Uncovering Uptown History walking tours during this temporary closure period. They're really fun to do, and I'm not just saying it because I'm a big old nerd, but we're offering them Saturdays in January at 10:30 a.m. and 1:30 p.m. Just keep in mind that we won't have a 1:30 p.m. tour on the second Saturday of each month, which is Family and Community Day, which is still happening during the restoration. So on January 10th, 2026, come on down for Family and Community Day. We thankfully have access to the colonial kitchen in the basement, so we're able to stay warm and / or dry should the weather call for that. January usually does. So those are some things that we have coming up, folks. So definitely be sure, if you're interested in our walking tours, to head to our website, purchase those tickets on Eventbrite. They're really fun. So alrighty, and now just a little bit about how to submit questions for the Q&A talkback portion of tonight's lecture. There is a feature on your Zoom webinar that is a Q&A feature. So you can type your questions into that portion of the Zoom features. And those will go directly to me, and I'll come back on at the end of the program and be the voice of the audience, and ask those questions for you folks. But also, don't feel like you have to save them all to the end. I'll be keeping an eye on it throughout the program. So you could submit them at any point, and then I will be able to read them at the end. All right, and now for the moment you've all been waiting for. I'm very happy to introduce our speaker, Danielle Monopoli. So today, don't get confused. We've got two Danielles on the call. So it'll sound like we're speaking in the third person, but we're not, promise. So as a member of the HHT Capital team, Danielle oversees all aspects of public and privately funded design, construction, and conservation projects. Prior to this role, she worked as the project development coordinator for HHT, managing all routine and emergency maintenance. She holds an MS in historic preservation from Pratt Institute. And with that, I will turn it over to Danielle.
Thank you, Danielle. Yeah, let me share my screen. And of course, now my presentation has disappeared. Sorry, folks, 1 second. Sorry, Danielle, would you be able to pull up the presentation? It disappeared from my
No worries.
shares.
Let
Yeah,
me
thank you.
pull that up right now.
Actually, I think I was able to get it. Let me know if you see it.
Okay, wait, just try again quickly for me.
Oh, it's not showing up.
No, not yet. I think it was because I went to share right at the same time.
Okay. Still nothing.
Still nothing, unfortunately.
Sorry about this. Okay, what about now?
All right. Now we're all good.
Okay. Thank you.
Just a mini panic. We promised
Yep.
we did test tech, guys.
Okay, so I'm going to go through a quick scope overview for the Morris Jumel Mansion restoration, phase 1. So the project manager for this project is the Historic House Trust. Our architectural designer was Page Ayers Cowley Architects, and our general contractor is Sienna Construction. So I'll go through some of the landscape work that you'll be seeing impact the park. So here we have the construction fence outlined in red and the contractor's staging areas highlighted in green. This image sort of helps you better see the layout of the fence in relation to the entire park. So it doesn't impact many of the paths, mostly closing off access to the easternmost path on the side of the house. There will be tree protection around some of the trees closest to the fence and the park entrance. These are highlighted in yellow. Additionally, some trees will be pruned during this project. These are highlighted in blue. So we've seen some shoring work go up at the house over the last few years, and most recently in the last month or two. And And here we have the completed shoring. So some roof replacement work. So the full wood roof will be replaced during this project at the main house and the octagon, as well as the two hyphen roofs. The green highlighted areas are the fluid applied membrane roofing at the flat roofs within the balustrades. There will be new flashing throughout and a new roof access hatch and roof hooks installed for better access for cleaning and maintenance of the roof. So the balustrades will also be reconstructed during this project. So here is the design for the main house and the octagon roofs. These will be new painted wood balustrades to match the historic, as well as new painted wood balustrades at the hyphen roofs. So at the exterior, in addition to a full exterior restoration and repainting, there are some areas where we'll be seeing wood replacements. So we have the new balustrade, new molding. The dormers at the roofs will also be reconstructed, and the decking at the balcony and south porch will be replaced, as well as 4 new wood columns at the south entrance. So on the east side of the house, we see new porch skirt, new door, that floating door that leads right now to the restroom, new balustrades, and the replaced siding for the dormer, as well as new gutters and leaders, and some siding replacement highlighted in blue as well. And this is just a cut section that helps us see a better extent of the wood replacement that we'll be seeing at the siding. So we see on the east and west side of the house. So on the west side, some replacement of the wood coins, wood siding, gutters and leaders, new balustrade systems, replaced columns. We'll also be doing some brownstone repairs and repointing at the front stoop and the foundation piers around the entire house. We'll also be completing crack repairs using a micro injection grout at cracks identified around the foundation. So the windows. So this, as we go along, windows highlighted in blue will be restored and windows highlighted in red will be replaced. So at the south facade, we see all window restoration. The east facade, window restoration, except at the dormer, that dormer window will be replaced. The north facade, basement windows and security bars will be replaced, all other windows restored. And the west facade, all window restoration with the exception of the dormer, which will be replaced. So frames and sills, again, as we go throughout, any areas highlighted in red are to be replaced and blue is to be restored. So we have a few windowsill replacements at the south facade. Many we can see on the east facade and a complete reconstruction of the dormer. A few at the north, a few more at the west facade, and again, the complete reconstruction of the dormer. So now we'll move on into the interior of the house. We'll start in the basement. So we'll be completing an injection grout to address some water infiltration in the under the octagon side of the house. We'll also be cleaning and repointing brick and the rubble masonry under the south porch. We'll also be cutting, capping, and terminating the exterior site lighting system, which will be addressed in the second phase. So as we go into the first floor, there's no work directly in the first floor itself, primarily reconstructing the west hyphen entrance and replacing the decking at the south porch. We'll go up onto the second floor. Similar to the first, no work directly in these rooms themselves, primarily just the roof replacement at the hyphen, and replacing the decking at the balcony. The third floor, so we do have work occurring on the third floor, so the attic space in the octagon, and some storage and archive rooms. In the main house, we will be replacing deteriorated plaster. We will also be removing an existing fan located in one of the windows and installing a new window. So right now we've just begun construction in Q4 of 2025, and we anticipate completing all work in Q4 of 2020. Let me get my years right, 2027. So we have a 2-year contract. This timeline right now is approximate, and as we go along, we'll always be keeping the mansion informed. And that's it for the scope. Thank you guys so much.
Alrighty, awesome. So thank you so much for that, Danielle. So now that we know a little bit about what is going to be going on with the mansion, sort of in this interim period right now with construction, I wanted to ask just a few questions, and folks, make sure you're popping your questions into the Q&A as well. Just sort of about things to do with the restoration and accessibility project, with historic preservation and things like that. So the first one is, why would you say historic preservation is important, especially for folks who might not be super familiar with the field who are with us today?
Yeah, so for me, it's the fact that these sites allow us to have such tangible connections to our past and to learn about not just our local history, but our national history, from people who are experts, not just in our nation's history, but as community partners. So you get to experience how these, not just architectural beauties, but important historical sites have left such a huge impact on past and present and future communities. And it's just fabulous to be able to keep them, restore them so that they can continue better serving the community.
Amazing. And so for the mansion, I know that we're fixing it up, we're making it beautiful again. Not that it's not beautiful now. I do have a very, very soft spot for our beautiful house. But what does this mean for the future of the Morris Jumel Mansion?
Yeah, so right now we're definitely working on just restoring the house, making it so that a variety of people can access the house. We'll be doing the ramp in phase 2, as well as some other little things here and there, which we outline in the phase 1 and phase 2, which you can also see on signage on site. But by completing these projects, we'll be able to think more creatively on future projects that will not just serve the house, but also help you serve the community in ways that are more reflective of modern times.
It's really exciting. Yeah. 260 years old, they weren't really thinking about, what we were doing now. So it's really exciting for us to have sort of on the horizon. And then I don't know actually if you might be able to answer this question, or if you could point me in the right direction, because I know that this is something that a lot of people ask me sort of day to day at the museum. How much of the exterior is the 1776 original? And then how much is Jumel period, if you know? I know it gets tricky in the 1900s where they're kind of in the Wild West of restoration.
Especially for like the exterior wood siding, a lot of that would have been replaced going into the 20th century. It's when you open that siding and you see the actual bones of the house that is all original. So we see a lot of nogging, like the brick nogging in between the walls, all of the framing, all original. It's, yeah, a lot of the siding you'll see will be replaced as needed. We have done paint analysis in, not recently, this is an analysis from like 20 or so years ago, that did find traces of paint that could have been from 18th century.
Oh, wow.
Um, yeah, so I'd have to look at that report to see exactly where those areas were on the exterior.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, it's a lot of the bones of the house and the interior, which is also landmark. So a lot of that interior is also original.
That's awesome. I'd be really interested to see that paint analysis. That'd be so cool.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, but yeah, if you find anything, let me know just for my own
Mhm.
personal.
Oh yeah, we can
Um,
share.
thank you. What a treat. So that's really, really cool. I know that people do get sort of flabbergasted not only when they see sort of the original features of the bones of the house, like you were talking about, as they're going down into the colonial kitchen, but
Mhm.
also when they ask about things like insulation, stuff like that. So can you speak to that a little bit, just as a little fun treat for the crowd?
Yeah, installation was very much not a thing. The Yeah, the bricks that you would see in between walls would have been used as some sort of barrier, but insulation was not much of a thought and not quite as needed as we need it now.
Yes, yes. Um, and I think people don't realize how much brick is sort of underneath the like,
Yes.
first layers of the house, which is really cool. And people can't even fathom, that they
Hmm.
wouldn't think of insulation in the way that we're like, we need it. We absolutely
Yeah.
need it.
We'll occasionally see like insulation in the form of like hay,
Corn cobs.
corn cobs,
Yes.
not like we see it now.
Yes. People often laugh in my face because I think they think I'm joking when I say hay and corn cobs. That's
Yeah,
really
that's it.
that's where we drew the line.
Hmm.
But yeah, it's a really fascinating thing that you don't really think about in these old houses. So it's
Hmm.
cool that we still get to have that today. So we do have one question in the Q&A right now. I think it might be something that I can answer. So I will hop in and do that. This viewer asked if there is any knowledge on the last family descendant. Where might they be? Did they lose the home? Um, so the last owners of the house were the Earl family. They called the home Earl Cliff because of its elevation and just sort of as an homage to their own family line. But after the Earl period, it was actually sold to the city because of the connection to George Washington to develop into the George Washington's Headquarters Association. So, four chapters of the Daughters of the American Revolution came together, interpreted the house to honor and enshrine it to George Washington. So, it looked very different than it does today. There wasn't as much of interpretation to the Jumel period. There was a curator named William Henry Shelton who was a great Revolutionary War buff. He and Archibald Bolton worked very closely together to do excavations on the original 130 acres that the house would have sat on and filled it up with Revolutionary War relics. And on a map from way back in the day, right about the time that the museum opened. It was called the Washington's Headquarters Museum of Revolutionary Era Relics or something like that, which is really, it's a funny thing to say because during relics is not a term that we use sort of for historic objects today. So you think about how much things have changed, but it wasn't that they lost it. They just simply passed it on to be preserved. And now we're here today. Um, so the next question is, I think this is kind of one that we should answer in tandem, Danielle. Can you share how the work will impact access to the mansion and the park and what events will still be offered? So I guess you can kind of take the construction-y side of things, and then I'll take a little bit about mansion and event side of things.
Yeah. So the park itself will remain open to the public. There may be periods of time where we'll have to close the park, um, specifically for certain scope items like replacing the columns. It's a safety concern, so the park has to be closed. That will be communicated to the museum, to the Parks Department, um, many different avenues to keep the public informed. Besides those times, the park will remain open to the public. The mansion itself, I know you've spoken about how you'll be closed for a few months. That is while we complete some priority scope items to ensure safe access to the house. So right now, I think we're anticipating May or June reopening. I think that
Spring-ish
was,
2026.
yeah.
Um, so yeah, so we still have access to the basement on the weekends, which we're very thankful for and lucky to have, because we can access that area safely, use it as sort of a home base for our programs that we're doing during this time period, like our Uncovering Uptown History walking tours, which leave from our basement 10:30 a.m. and 1:30 p.m. and it's a 90-minute tour that takes you basically around, I think it's about a mile of sort of sightseeing throughout the neighborhood. And then it brings you to really cool spots. We talk a lot about history all the way from the Lenape through sort of modern day history and what's going on in the neighborhood today. And it goes all the way to Trinity Uptown Cemetery, and we end at Madame Jamel's crypt, which is really cool because even sort of her final resting place has some really interesting stories connected to it. And it's just really nice. If you are local, you'll learn a lot about the neighborhood that you live in. If you're visiting from out of town, you'll get to explore sort of an off the beaten path, not really super touristy thing to do in New York City. So that's going to be really fun. Of course, we'll always be able to do our virtual programming because that doesn't require us to be at the mansion. And then we also have our family and community days. So if you have little ones who are really interested in doing crafts and just having a good time at the mansion, that will always be happening. All right. And then the next question is, will all historic materials be used, wood, brick, slate, etc., or will any modern materials be included?
Yeah, so any material being replaced, so like wood, we've done wood species analysis, so they'll be replaced in kind. Brick, mortar, we will be doing some additional testing to see what the composition of that brick and mortar is to replace it as closely as possible. Some mortar is still historic and requires specific mixtures that are not modern whatsoever and sometimes still incorporate oyster shells. Um, some modern materials will be used, so like replacing the roof hatch, that will be a modern roof hatch. It'll be much safer for staff and the museum staff and park staff to use to access the roof. I would say modern might also be the injection grout we're seeing to prevent any additional water infiltration in the basement.
Wonderful. We also have another question that kind of goes off of what I was thinking too, which is what kind of wood was used to make the current columns? And then also, how do you test for these sorts of things? How do you kind of get a handle on what these old materials are?
Specifically for the columns, I would have to review a report. There are many different species found throughout the house. They're usually pine. We see a lot of cedar, but I would have to refer to the report, and I could definitely get that answer to you. So for wood analysis, they typically take a sample and send it to a lab, and then I just get the results.
Amazing. So they actually go in and they sort of like take out a piece of
Yeah.
Cool. And then for like grout and stuff, is it the same way? Do they do that on site or?
No, similar. So they scrape out some grout and send it off to a lab for analysis, and they will break it down into further components
Mhm.
so we'll get like really cool like close up images of the mortar itself and like why it's a historic mixture or why it's a modern one. Yeah.
So do you think that they'll actually be able to use oyster shells if they need
Oh,
oyster shells? Is that something that
yep.
cool? So how do you source those like pieces to make these sort of mortar construction formula things or
Yeah,
specific wood?
there's still like specialized firms that provide
Cool.
yeah, these specific things. Yeah.
That's so cool.
And people who are specially trained to mix those compounds.
That's so cool. Did you learn how to do that in your
No.
training at all, or is it different? Okay. It's a very
I
special
could,
thing.
yeah, I've been meaning to go to a workshop
Oh,
uh
cool.
to actually do it myself, but yeah, need to
Amazing.
schedule that.
Um, Awesome. So this kind of actually goes with that last question as well. Is the level of craftsmanship used to build the mansion still available? Do people still learn those building skills? So I'm assuming hand building and hand carving and shaping and things like that, that we would see prior to the Industrial Revolution in the United States.
Yeah, so some things like the columns, though, like that will be outsourced to a specialized craftsman or just uh, vendor who can produce something of that size with that level of craftsmanship. For work occurring on site, yes, those are also people who are specially trained to complete that work. We require, like five, at least 10 years to complete certain scope items. Um, Preservation overall, it is an issue we're seeing nationwide, a lack of people who are trained to work on historic houses. Um, yeah, so just overall, it's an area that has been impacted, and I really, really would love to help in any way to encourage more people to learn how to do historic crafts because we need them.
Really do. um, another question is, what do you think the most difficult part of this restoration will be? Which I know you're covering a lot of things. So if you had to have a premonition about one.
I think overall windows are always tricky. Um, Restoring windows requires a lot of very precise, detailed work around very fragile glass. So that is always, I guess, not so tricky for the people doing it, but worrisome for the people observing it.
It makes your heart skip a few beats.
Yeah, you're always just like waiting. Um, I am really looking forward to when we are restoring the plaster on the third floor and taking a peek in those ceilings. So I'm very much looking forward to that.
I'm so excited.
Mhm.
What do you think you'll find in there?
No clue.
Oh my gosh. Okay, I need
Maybe
updates.
more corn cobs.
Probably. I mean, probably. And I'm very excited to see not only the work kind of when it's done, but also to hear about what is looming over my head each and every day. It'd be really wonderful if we found some buried treasure, but I don't know that they were actually putting it into the walls.
Yeah.
Alrighty, folks. Does anybody have any more questions for today? I know we covered a whole bunch of topics. Um, go ahead and pop them in the chat. Alrighty. So I think that while we're waiting for anybody else to pop a question in the chat, one thing that I'll ask you sort of just to wrap up my end of things is what do people have to look forward to outside of just sort of the brand new shiny appearance of the mansion, and what are you most excited for not only end of the project but just sort of where everything is sort of going with all the restoration projects you have going on with HHT right now?
Well, I guess I'm for Morris Jumel, I'm very excited to get phase two going. Um, we
I like
have
that
some
thinking.
designs. Yeah,
Phase
we
one, lock
already
it
have,
in.
yeah, we already have some designs for the ramp, but I'm very excited to look at some additional items that we identified in this project. Um, so we'll be taking a closer look at the foundations of the house, um, resetting those gutters, which I absolutely love. The perimeter gutters on the
Yeah.
ground. We do not see that anywhere else, and it is
Oh
such
wow.
a fabulous feature of the house. Everyone is so confused when we point it out. They're like, "Wait, where are the gutters?" And I'm like
Why
pointing
are
at
they there?
the
What do you mean look down? Yeah.
mm-hmm.
There are lots of little interesting quirks to the house too. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, outside the octagon room and the dining room being
Mm-hmm.
actually a dining room, there are just so many little things that when you look at the details, you
Mm-hmm.
just like, how did they even,
Yeah.
how did we get here? This is insane. It's wonderful. All right. So Q&A has been quiet, so I think everybody is all set. And we will wrap up for tonight. So thank you, Danielle, so much for joining us. This has been really fun, a great way to close out our series, but also kick off this restoration period. And thank you, everybody else who came. Have a good night, everyone.
No, thank you.